We're making lasagna from scratch. I'm gonna make the sort of the Bolognese sauce, the Bolognese. We're gonna make a Béchamel. I'm gonna make the pasta. You see I have the KitchenAid with the pasta thing. So we're gonna make it all from scratch. First things first, we gotta break all this down. So we have to do onions, carrots, celery. It's essentially 3-part onion, 2-part carrot, 1-part celery, but I mean, you can use however much you want. First thing I'm gonna do is get the carrots. We want these to be like a fine sort of dice so that we have them all roughly uniform in a similar size. And I'll show you how to break down this first one. This is just my scrap basket on the left side here. So to break these down, cut the ends off, or just the end, I guess, into manageable parts. Cut it in half, roughly. Doesn't be perfect or anything. Just something manageable. And then the idea is to cut it into essentially strips down that axis and then back down the other way. I'll do kind of like this size. That's sort of what we're looking for. You can go smaller. I might go a little bit smaller. Just so that the carrots melt into the sauce. This is going to simmer for a couple hours traditionally, so they'll break down nice. So that's the size we're looking for everything. So for celery, you just kind of want to cut it down the length. There you go. Cut it one more time. You just want to cut it down the length. It doesn't have to be like super precise or anything, but just so you have roughly equal situations going on. This shouldn't take too long. You don't have to fuss about everything. It's going to break down a little bit when it cooks. Lose some water. You just want it to be small enough to meld together. Actually, that's enough celery for me. I'm not going to add more. That's plenty. Okay, so break down our red pepper. I'm going to add this whole thing. It's going to add sweetness. I like to add veggies to my lasagna because it's such a rich thing. If you don't want to add a bunch of different veggies, you don't have to. But personally, I think you're missing out if you're just going with meat sauce, tomato, cheese, you know. I think you're missing an opportunity to expand some flavors into your life. You can cut these into sections around the pithy part, and I just cut the ribs out. These are a little bitter and you don't want them. So we have our sections, and same thing, we're just cutting them roughly to the same form factor as everything else. I have also added shredded zucchini and summer squash and more carrots to these kinds of sauces before. Especially good if you have kids, which I don't, but I have fed, you know, we have kids in and around the family and acquaintances and stuff, and I'm telling you, the more vegetables you can get them kids to eat, the better. And you need to eat vegetables too, not just kids. And there we go. There's that. Last thing we need to do is the onion and the garlic. I'm not going to use this whole onion because it's huge. I got this from the local, technically my butcher produce section. Probably use about, I don't know, that much, maybe a little bit more, we'll see. I'm just going to eyeball it at the end. This is how you process an onion. Cut it in half, keep the stem or the root end. And then, see all the sections, they say cut radially along those and sort of aim for beyond it doesn't not have to be perfect. Just like there's, and then right down the middle, and then we just go. Sort of small, medium dice. This is what you're looking for, though. This is roughly that big. Okay, fill our veggie prep bowl right up. These are all gonna go in the same time, so it doesn't really matter. If the onions hurt your eyes in this scenario, you just put a lid on, cover them, keep the fumes off you. All right. All right, last thing, just some garlic. Cut the ends off. To get the skins off garlic, you just smash them. There you go. Nice and smashed. Skins fall right off. All right, and then with garlic, especially, we don't have to be very precise here. We're just gonna cut it up, get it down to a size where it can cook with the rest of the stuff. You can spend more time on that if you want. I'm not gonna. It doesn't matter. All right, we are going to brown off some sausage. We'll not even really brown it. We're starting to like cook it down and render it out. We don't need to get a lot of color on this because we don't want this to overcook. This is Italian sausage that's hand mixed at my local butcher. It's good. You can also use like a mixture of sausage and burger or pork and whatever ground stuff you got going on is fine. Just want to make sure it has decent contact with the bottom. And then what we're going to do is, once this starts to brown, we're going to dump essentially all of this in there, mix it around. We're going to get some like brown bits on the bottom. Well, maybe. This isn't a stainless steel or anything. This is non-stick. But then we're going to deglaze with wine. We're going to add some stock, and then we're going to add tomatoes, and then we're going to stew this down for an hour and a half, 2 hours or so, maybe a little bit less, depends on. We're just going to get this down to a nice simmer. See all the fat that's going to be rendered out of here. It's just good. Of course, it's mixing with the olive oil I just put in there. In this case, I would choose something wooden. Silicone is going to be a little bit too soft, and anything metal, what you scrape around in here, is going to fuck up the bottom of your, whatever your cooking vessel might be. I thought about doing this in my Dutchie, but I'm just going to do it right here. Just keep breaking it down, and then right around this point, you see there's still a good amount of fat. This sausage is cooked, but it's not, you know, overcooked or cooked through. It's certainly got plenty to render out. We're going to take all these veg and pour them in. We're also going to hit this with some salt. Not too much, just to help the water come out of that. All right, and now what we want to do is we want to cook these vegetables in the sausage until they're like translucent and getting a little more happy in there. This is going to cook for a long time together, so we don't want anything to overcook now. Might take, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, depending on your vessel, the heat you got going on. I'm on like 6 out of 10 here. If you have gas, maybe it'll go faster with direct flame. I have to keep it moving a little bit more. Just keep an eye on it. These vegetables are going to soften a little bit. This is how you make it. A nice meaty and veggie filled Bolognese. So let this go for a little bit. We'll be back shortly, and we'll be adding some liquid to this and cooking down. All right, during this stage, you're going to see a lot of steam coming up. That's the water I'm talking about cooking out. That's good. You want this. So while it's steaming like this, And you can see like the water coming through here on the bottom, some of the fat. You'll see this cooking through. Don't be scared to take your spoon and grab a little piece of vegetable or something. Everything's cooked through now, and taste it. And just check for doneness. You still have a little bite to them, like the peppers and stuff. The onions are getting close. You can see they're translucent. If you look down in there a little bit, we'll pull them out and show you. You know, it's not delicious or anything yet because it's not done, but it is, you know. I mean, you can start to taste what's going on here. So you're on the right track. Keep going. Keep cooking. Also taking this time while it starts cooking down to just keep chipping away at breaking down the sausage pieces. Like anytime you stir it, you might see like, oh, here's a couple bigger pieces. Just break them down a little bit with a spoon. You don't do it all at once. You don't have to do it at all, really. I just like a better, you know, I like it when it's more mixed up like this. Smaller pieces of sausage. It makes it feel more saucy, especially in the lasagna that we're making this with. But you can put this, when we're done with this, it's just going to be a ragu. Like, this could be on pasta, penne, ziti, whatever you got going on. Alright, not too much longer. I think this has been cooking for probably like 6 to 8 minutes or so. We are about ready to deglaze and to add tomatoes and cook this down. Alright, right before we do that, we're going to pick some of this parsley. You can grab any fresh herbs. Basil would be really good in this. You're using tomatoes. Just bundle them up into like it doesn't have to be perfect or anything. Just get them bundled. And just cut down the middle and there you go. And then just run your knife through it a couple times. You can also add fresh parsley at the end after you're done baking your lasagna and stuff. You might do that. This is all going in. Here we go. We're gonna grab this wine, which is just a cheap wine. You can use fucking Pinot Grigio. You can use, doesn't matter. Red wine. As long as it's dry is all that matters. Just so you get that nice contrast, some of the acid from this in there. Yeah, these are nice and cooked down. Okay. We're gonna add about, I don't know, a cup. There we go. All right, we're gonna let this cook down. And you don't just, you know, we added the wine, we deglaze. Now this is a non-stick pan, so it doesn't build fond like maybe a stainless steel or something would. Maybe you have something that'll build more fond, but either way, you want this wine to cook out. You do not want to just start pouring other shit in there right now. Let this wine cook down. We're gonna essentially get the liquid out of here. Get the alcohol burned off. Nice simmer. Adding the liquid is now going to start the process of this really breaking down and melding together as far as flavors are concerned. There's some chicken stock here as well. Just so it's all incorporated. Alright, it'll take a couple minutes for this to cook down. But we'll see this bubble less. And then we'll add chicken stock and let that cook a little bit, and then we'll add the tomatoes. And then it'll simmer for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. You can go too far though. What'll happen is if you just let this simmer like all day, which some people think cooking things longer makes them better, that's not true. The protein inside this already broken down sausage. I mean, this stuff will break all the way down in this, and you'll have something that is, even though it's wet, it will taste dry and chalky because the meat is so overcooked. That'll take hours and hours though, so you can take it nice and slow. You just don't want to cook this thing for like 6 hours, or I mean even 4 hours. Like 2-3 hours won't be so bad. All right. Wine's almost cooked off. You'll be able to smell it. Like I can still smell that sort of like raw, acidy Wine taste. This is okay. These are DiNapoli crushed tomatoes. Normally, a tradish ragu bolognese wouldn't use as many tomatoes, but this is what I got, so I'm just going to use it. And I don't care. It's not too... It would use, you know, tomato paste, maybe some fresh tomatoes. But I mean, there's no real wrong way. Oh, and we're going to add some milk to this, which is a traditional part of the process. And you're going to want this a little saucier than you think, right? Like, we're adding this stock here in a second. Let this cook just a touch. We're adding the stock in a second. You want a little saucier because we're going to reduce this down and it's going to cook out. And then again, when we bake it in the lasagna, we're going to lose some moisture to the noodles. We're going to lose some moisture just to evaporation and cooking. So right now, this can be kind of a wet experience. There we go. Let's add the chicken stock. Perfect. Nice and saucy. Okay. And then, I mean, it kind of looks like Italian chili at this point. I mean, it essentially is Italian chili. Without any of the, I guess this one has red peppers, but no chili paste or anything. But, you know, I mean, you could eat this right now. It'd be fine. This is food. Yeah. I mean, it needs work, in my opinion, to be great, but there you go. We're gonna add a little milk. This is a traditional ingredient. A little bit more. There we go. That'll improve adds more body, more richness to the situation. Okay, so this is literally just going to cook down. Once it gets up to a simmer, turn your heat down to, like, I don't know, just enough to maintain the simmer. It'll be different depending on your vessel and stuff, but, you know, low, medium, low. You can walk away from it at this point. You don't even have to, like, stay here and stir it. Although stirring occasionally is nice to make sure you don't have any, like, bits on the bottom that are going a little too crazy. But essentially, you're good. That's ragu bolognese. I'll be back. We have to make a bechamel and pasta, but we're not going to do that until this is essentially done. So we're just chilling now. See you in a little bit. All right, so this is the kind of simmer you're looking for. Nice and gentle. You don't want big bubbles going up everywhere. You want the heat to be managed. It's at like is that 1.6 on my ovens, or my range, I guess. But you know, just come in every once in a while, every 10, 15, 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be watched that closely, and just give it a little stir. And then I'll show you what consistency you're looking for. A little bit meaty, a little thicker than this. Nice and broken down from spending some time in the pool together. Yeah, so this is what you're looking for. We'll be back in, like I said, like an hour, 90 minutes, something like that. All right, it's been about an hour or so. I'm sitting at 2, and it's been about that, and it's just had these little bubbles. Every 20 minutes, I'm stirring it, and that's all I'm doing. I want this to reduce more, but you can see the consistency is almost like a kind of gravy-like. We're getting closer. I'm gonna let this keep going for probably another half hour or so, and then I'm just gonna let it come down naturally while we make pasta and bechamel. All right, we're gonna make pasta. 2 cups of flour of your choice, and 3 eggs. We're gonna do half AP and half semolina. Let's mix them up a little bit. Here we go. We might not need 100% of the flour we have here. We're just gonna let the eggs determine that. So crack them. And you just want to take a fork and start to whip these up, trying to keep the you know, sort of well you got going on here. A little bit of a delicate touch, and you just want to scramble these boys. And what you do, some of the flour is going to incorporate in, and that's what we want. And then after a little bit, you're going to start forcing more flour into the situation. Make sure we have all the egg that we can. And now you're making pasta. We just want some of it to incorporate until we have a dough. We want to keep our well integrity. I didn't learn how to do this from anyone's Italian grandma or anything, so I'm sure Italian grandmas make it look even better. But once this starts to come together, we can start just using our hands a little bit more. But you see, they're part of the tool anyway. You can also just throw all of this into a mixer. But I know not everybody has a mixer, and so we'll do it this way. This also help you get dough feel. You'll be able to feel how you want the dough. Okay, I think it's bench scraper time, which is a useful tool. If you don't have it, you can use your hands or just keep going with the fork. And just sort of cut flour into the dough. So you can handle it with your hands without it getting all sticky on you. I think we're getting close. It's definitely still wet, but we can coax it. I think we will use all or close to all of this flour. See that beautiful yellow color coming through. It's only going to deepen as we hydrate this dough. The bench scraper is good because some of the stuff will stick to your, well, bench, right? Scrapes the bench, or the counter, I guess. And what we want is for this to come together into a, a yellow dough, pasta colored dough. Once it does, we're gonna let it sit and hydrate for a little bit because it's not going to want to turn into pasta if it's dry, and it needs a little time to set up some of the gluten and stuff that'll be in here, although it's not going to be, you don't have to knead it forever. Just take your palm, sort of flip it, you see, sort of fold it, push, and what we're doing is we're just making sure that, well, we're kneading it, creating a little gluten, but what we're really doing in this step is hydrating the dough, pushing that egg, the moisture from it, into the dough. Don't be scared to really push on this thing. It's a good workout. There's some stuff in here that we can use. You don't have to go through it. We don't want it to be too dry. We have just a little much flour. So once this becomes homogeneous is when we're done with this stage. So I would knead on it for a couple minutes. Really put your body weight into it too. Get your aggressions out. Had a long day at work. Pissed. Angry. 'Cause you're making handmade pasta. Instead of just buying it. You could totally just buy pasta for this, by the way. This is just an extra step that's going to make it even better. Okay, we're pretty much good there. We are pretty much there. Let's push on a little bit more. We just want it into a nice sort of uniform ball. All right, now we don't want this to dry out, so let's cover it. A lot of people use plastic wrap for this. We're just gonna go with a Ziploc, and we're just gonna push the air out of the Ziploc, but you don't want a bunch of air on this. Then we're gonna let it sit in the fridge for a little bit, maybe like 15-20 minutes. All right, let's make some lasagna noodles. We have our dough here. You'll see it'll look more homogeneous. It'll be a little more tacky. This is a good thing. We want to cut this into quarters, essentially. I can reserve, I don't know how much of this I'm going to need. I might need all of it. I might need half of it. But we want to keep it in here so that it doesn't dry out. Keep your pasta dough moist. So this, put a little flour down. This is the KitchenAid pasta thing, attachment, I don't know. You can use a rolling pin, that's much harder and more work. It's just about the amount of work you want to do. If you don't have one, I mean, I don't blame you if you don't have one. I'm going to use it for this. You just want to get it thin enough to where it can fit through your number 1 slot. Number 8 being the thinnest. We're only going to go to number 7. And we're going to pass this through a few times. We want it all just a little bit on either side of this. And then, just to pull it through. There we go. Okay, that's one pass. And then what we want to do here is just fold it to kind of get like a rectangle. This is just gonna sort of laminating it. This is gonna help the structure a little bit, but mostly it is about making sure it's roughly rectangular. So we're gonna keep doing this, and we're just gonna feed it through to the other side. Just let it sort of fall. There we go. We're gonna make it smaller, and we're gonna do it again. And it's just about making nice, long, thin sheets for lasagna. They're gonna be a little wonky. It's never gonna be perfect. You are not a pasta cutting machine. Yeah, maybe you are. Okay. Here's the 4th one. You can kind of guide which way it goes through there. It's got a little more. I can feel like it's getting a little bit of attack on it. You don't need a lot though. This is really all there is. It's a pretty simple process. I don't want this pressed into it, so there we go. Okay. So we are on 5. We're just gonna go all the way to 7. Then we're gonna do this just with all of it until we have enough. One more pass. Actually, 2 more. This is 6. You can see how long it gets and beautiful. And how you feed it in on top, you know, you just let it lay. But you can kind of, you know, make sure that it's center. You don't want to rub it up against the sides too much. Sometimes that'll happen just because of the shape of your dough. But last one. This is number 7. Just one more dusting. Making sure. Okay. Right down the middle. Just let it ribbon down. I just don't want it to like tear or fall violently, so. All right. Turn it off for a second. Now you can see you have nice long ribbons. So we're gonna match the size of this. In fact, I'm just gonna build this initially as we go, because we don't have to boil these because they're gonna get liquid from the cooking process of the lasagna. So this is just the base layer. I'm just gonna put this down right here like this. We'll make the bechamel once we do all the noodles, but I'm gonna get a head start a little bit more. So we want them just grabbing this. I mean, you can make it nice and pretty on this side here. I'm not gonna waste any of my pasta. We're just gonna go right here. I'm literally gonna set it in here. Just do it. We'll do it live. Just wanna see. Okay. And so like roughly there. And now we have one layer. Okay. So we can kind of see where this is going to go. This is why I wanted to do it like this first. So one of these is one layer, essentially. You can be more finicky or less finicky with the pasta if you want. Let's take the tip of the knife and run that through. You can also try this right now. You know, it's edible. I mean, you know, it's eggs and flour. It's not going to be very tasty yet. I guess technically 1.5 layers. So I'm going to set this down here. Wipe this out. Set these on top. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to bang out a few more of these nudes. we'll have what we need. And then we're gonna make a bechamel and put it all together and then pop it in the oven. In fact, I'm gonna, just while I'm doing this, I'm gonna start my oven. I'm just gonna do that right now. Making more pasta. Remember to keep these sealed so they don't dry out. Let's do it one more time for you so you can see, and then I'll do the rest off camera. I don't even need the rolling pin for this part. Just get it down. Make sure it's back on 1, the biggest setting. Just on the lowest speed. Push it through once. We're gonna laminate it one time. Just a letter fold situation to try to get a rectangle. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be nice-ish. And we're just gonna go just like this. All right, next step up. I switch the size every once in a while just to make sure it gets like even pressure. I don't know if it matters. Didn't grow up with an Italian family, so I have no standards for this. I've only been making it just myself. This is perfect for the first time you make pasta. I mean, there's literally no other techniques. Usually, when you make pasta like this, you're gonna have to cut it and shape it to make different kinds of pasta. All right, there's 3. Here's 4. This is satisfying. Feels nice. Once you start making your own nudes, it's pretty hard to go back. I don't eat a lot of pasta though, but I made pappardelle a couple times. It's not that much harder to make something like fettuccine. All right, last one. Yeah, man, it's nice and thin. You can see my hand through it. Just translucent. Just to see our lengths here. All right. Cut this wonky end off. We can cut this wonky end off, and then, like, honestly, probably just right in the middle, huh? All right. And we're just gonna lay these here on this parchment, and then we're gonna slightly cover them. Let's add this one here. Don't have to overlap too much. Just covered. I'm actually gonna flip them because my oven exhausts this way, and these are the 2 I'm not really using. So just in case. All right. This isn't gonna take that long though. I'm just gonna do all of them. So I'll be right back when I'm done with these 2 noodles, and then we'll make bechamel. It is time for a bechamel. We have already prepped this stage. I guess right now we could put more meat sauce, just a little bit. So we're gonna do a bechamel layer here. We are going to make a nice ooey gooey bechamel. Well, I guess technically it's a cheese sauce. But we gotta make a bechamel first to make a Mornay. That's really all I'm looking for here. A little bit more. There we go. We got plenty on the bottom layer. 1 whole stick of butter, half a cup of flour, and we're gonna add a little over 4 cups of milk slowly. And then once that gets up to a simmer, we're gonna add some cheese, some salt, a little nutmeg. I don't have any fresh nutmeg. I only have this ground stuff, so we'll use that. All right. So we have our melted butter. Let's let that get up to heat a little bit. You'll see it start to bubble a little. All right, we're starting to see like little white bubbles in there. A little stir. And then we just stir the flour in until it's essentially gonna make this paste down in here. There we go. And we wanna cook this a little bit because flour has, sort of a raw flavor to it. I'm gonna cook this. It'll smell nutty. You'll be able to see it start to sort of change consistency. It smells really great, but you can smell how raw that flour is right now. So you do have to let this cook a little bit. All right. So once you can start to see this kind of action happening, it's been cooked a little bit. This is cold milk. We're gonna slowly pour it in to incorporate. It's gonna take a second, but it's worth it. It'll be silky smooth. So right there. I'm gonna wait until it's incorporated. You see how it like thickens? Okay, a little bit more. I'm just gonna keep doing this. Here, I'll push this here so I can do this. There we go. There you go. It's incorporated. Just a little at a time. If you do it all at once, you're not going to get the consistency you want at all. There we go. Keep going. And we're just going to add all this milk and keep doing it like this until it comes together into a sauce. You can see this is going to add a nice, rich, creamy to it. You don't actually have to add cheese to this. A regular bechamel in a lasagna is absolutely delicious enough. Making this into a mornay and adding the cheese is going to make it fuck. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have lasagna that fucks. That's the point. We don't want good lasagna. You've had good lasagna. Okay? Let's get better lasagna. All right. Clean up as you go. All right. This has to get to a simmer. Just want to keep it moving a little bit. I'm just feeling around for any non-smoothness, but I think we're good. We want to let this get up. I'm going to add nutmeg right now. There we go, a little bit more. Nutmeg is a classic addition to bechamel. We want some salt. Some salt will come with the cheese too. I don't have any white pepper, otherwise I'd use it. Just to maintain the color. Just a little bit of black pepper, not a ton. Stir that in. All right, you can feel how thick this is. Now, this won't get to its desired thickness until it comes to a simmer. Just like gravy, essentially. It's the same exact thing. So, we're gonna add not all this cheese. This is a mixture of mozzarella, and then the finely shredded stuff is a little pecorino. All right, this isn't quite to a bubbling simmer, but it is quite thickened at this point. Certainly okay to add cheese. I'm just gonna add some handfuls of cheese. Just whisk it in so that it incorporates smoothly. We shredded it so the process goes a little faster. And we don't want like a ton of cheese because it'll be really thick, but I mean, anywhere between 1/3 and 1/2 cup is probably plenty of that. We're just gonna let this get up just a little bit more before we put it all together. All right. So now you can see this beautiful, it's essentially cheese gravy, dude. Cheese sauce, delicious. We're gonna just ladle it over top into an ooey gooey layer. This will set a little bit after the baking process. Let's do a little bit more. I wanna make sure that this is kind of all the way to the edge, because as it sets, it'll add this like top to it. Okay, let's just put them right back in there. These are a little short, that's fine. Like, I guess if we care about it, we can scooch them over. Oh, I guess technically, you know, you should taste everything that you're making. Here, let's taste the bechamel. It's great. Okay, add some remnant pasta over here. Sure. And then just continue with our layers. So, we want a A little meat sauce. A little bolognese. Okay. This all, of course, spread out during the cooking process, the baking process. All right, another big ladle of creamy, cheesy sauce. Okay. Just move that around on there. Just to make sure. Okay. Back in, nice and snug. Same thing. Same exact thing. I guess I could alternate so that this side gets the solid pieces, but I don't care. I don't care. That will work just fine. We'll have one wonky side. Who cares? Okay, so now most of the meat sauce. Spread that out so everybody gets a little something. If you want more saucy meats, make more saucy meat sauce. If you want less and you prefer a bechamel heavy situation, well, there you go. You can. We don't need those other noodles. This is fine. We're just gonna top the rest of this with bechamel. Just gonna use this to scrape the sides down, get it all out of there. To the edges. Bechamel will bake up, because it has that flour in it, it'll bake up into like a topping here, so it's gonna be nice. If you want to do another layer, you can. I'm gonna finish this with some of the extra cheese. So we get like some edges. This is my Detroit style pizza pan, so you know it's good. I don't want to go overboard, but I might have the exact right amount of cheese. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna, there we go. Cool, that was convenient. Okay. All right, 350 degree oven. We're gonna put it in there for, close to 40 minutes. So I'm gonna leave it uncovered, 350. We'll call it half an hour before we go look at it. All right, well, I'll check on it a couple times. But that's lasagna, and you can already see it's starting to set, but we want this in the oven. 350. Walk away from it. All right, it's been about 40 minutes. Maybe a little under, maybe a little over. I didn't quite time it well. But look at that. About 40 minutes. I would just pay attention to it so that you can see the top to your desired doneness. But this looks good to me. You see it bubbling, you see the cheesiness, and then it's gonna be a little crust. So here's the painful part. We can't touch it. It looks awesome. I wanna eat it. Of course it would melt my mouth just right off. I wouldn't have a mouth hole at all. It would seal me shut. It's molten. It smells amazing. I wanna eat it really bad. This needs to cool down for like a half hour. You can't even touch it. You can look at it, you can smell it. But if you cut into it early, it's going to ooze everywhere and just be destroyed, and you don't want that. You want this to be delicious and perfect. So you just got to wait. You just got to wait this one out. But as you can see, we have a substantial lasagna. This is easily the hardest part of the process. Yeah, we did a little bit of labor. We worked a little bit. We made our own handmade pasta. We made a bechamel. We made a bolognese. We made the whole thing from scratch. But this is the hardest part, waiting. Because look at that damn thing. It's a masterpiece. Don't you just want to like lay on it? Like a pillow? Alright, you're going to get a smash cut, but I have to wait a grueling like 30 minutes to eat this thing. Let's go! Alright, it's time. We don't have to wait any longer. It's still quite warm. I don't care. It's happening. It's been about a half an hour, a little bit longer. Gotta cut into the corner here. Yeah, it's still gonna be quite gooey. I'm not letting it set. You could go another. You could go a whole hour or so. You can see the inside is still. We got that cheesy bechamel thing. All right, let's see if we can get this out of here. in a square, holding together. A little parsley on top. It's not quite crispy, but it has like a nice edge to it, right? You could bake this longer if you wanted for that. The fresh pasta, the layers. The longer you let this sit, the better the layers are going to look. All right, let's eat it. See if we can't get you a better shot of the layers there. Nice. Okay, this is still going to be like borderline molten. I mean, probably not enough to burn you. Or me, I guess. Bro. It's so good. The bechamel is worth making. It makes it like, you know, instead of like heavy and cheesy, there's a light cheesiness to it, but it's still like ooey and gooey. This is the way to go. This is the best. It'll be better tomorrow probably upon reheat. All right, there you go. Lasagna done.